So we still have, sorry, about half an hour for Q&A. What I'm going to ask is so everybody can hear the questions. I'm going to run around with a mic here. There's a mic stand over there if you want to queue up. But we'll give it a go. I'll open it up myself. At what age do you think these testing goals could be pushed down to? It seems high school is a relevant target, but how young can you get before this seems kind of irrelevant to test more broadly?
Yeah, I mean, I think high school is probably as far as I would push it based on how science in particular, I'm thinking of science in particular, how that's taught. Economics is often a senior high school elective class, and so the exposure to economics is very limited below college. But I do think a lot of this is quite useful for science learning, particularly in the high school level.
But Piaget studied that very well, right?
Piaget, yes I do, sir. Piaget focused on the early childhood in particular and the sort of the young scientist, the child as a scientist. And he talked a lot about kind of universal, cross-cultural, all humans sort of develop certain capacities to test their environment and understand it. But his theory, once people reach that higher level of reasoning, right, which kind of happens sort of in elementary school or maybe middle school, it just started to not be as applicable or useful educationally. At least that's the general sort of thinking about Piaget at this point in educational psychology. Yes? Yeah. Oh, sorry, we have a microphone, sorry.
Yeah. First, let me say that I couldn't follow you very well because I just don't know the vocabulary of this type of research.
Okay.
But I'd just like to ask you, what would you say was the most significant difference between between economics and biology, as in the different type of teachings that you were trying to compare? The most significant difference between economics as a field and biology.
Yeah, I would say that economics is really a model-based discipline. It really focuses on models, mathematical type models, and applying them to real world situations over and over and over again. It's a lot of case-based reasoning where you're applying those models. In biology, the density of the content, you're learning about a lot of invisible processes and so forth, a whole new vocabulary, lots of terminology, and then trying to remember all these very complex processes. And so the opportunity to apply them, I mean, those are models too. Evolution, another one of our maps was evolution, and that's a model. But the opportunity to apply that is limited, given how much they're trying to cover. Okay.
Thank you for your talk.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so someone had asked during the lecture, what is critical thinking? First thing that popped to mind is understanding Lady Gaga, but, and then connecting that to the end when you had mentioned, short answer responses. I personally think that's one of the best ways you're going to develop, and then you mentioned that college professors wanting multiple choice, which I really scratch in my head. How do you understand Lady Gaga through multiple choice? So, what is, if you're willing to go into at all, that kind of frontier look like? Because it makes sense what you're speaking of in terms of a short answer framework, but moving into multiple choice, I feel like there's a framework, an institutionalized framework in place that's saying keep that.
Yes.
So
yes.
I could think, get student aids, more people to read papers, to help the professors. So I think there's a lot of ways around it, but speaking to the multiple choice, what does that frontier look like?
One of the things we've talked about is there a way to integrate more short answer somehow? I mean, even if it's in the early non-high stakes testing in the classroom, just give students more of an opportunity to, connect the dots and explain how things are working. They don't always have to be writing that down. They could be talking to each other, but someone could literally be letting, like you do a presentation, you have to talk through it, and your way of talking through it is assessed, and you get some feedback about the gaps and so on right then. So that's one way, is to increase formative, what they call formative assessment earlier in the education instruction process. With respect to large-scale testing this whole trying to be sensitive to the workload that instructors have, there is the idea of, automated scoring of student answers. I mean, that is, out there, and it's possible. And I think the technology is, the big testing companies have this under their belts. They're doing this already. And with technology innovation, I do think that perhaps there's going to be a way that regular instructors can use that technology. That would be like really in the future what I think could be a good solution to that. And some people here at SRI are working on that kind of thing, so. Yes, sir.
I have a question that's very similar to his question. I didn't know that he was going to ask something quite like that. But let me just kind of state my rewording of what he was asking and get your comment on it. I find that there's an irony in that the professors want students to be able to apply stuff after they get out of college. And yet, in real life, we don't take multiple choice tests. Any of the problems that we encounter in real life never have A, B, C, D, or none of the above. And if that's the whole mindset of the testing, and the teachers are forcing you to go away from just one step away in short answer, which isn't very critical thinking, that's still very objective, it seems to me that, and they're saying, no, we have to go back to multiple choice because that's the only thing we can grade. Yet, on the other hand, they're saying we want them to critical think. There seems like a huge disconnect there to me.
Yeah.
Am I?
No, I mean, I think, again, and the people who have been working on this, there's some biology professors who've been working on this, and again, they are leaning more on, let's just stick with the multiple choice, where the multiple choices are actually diagnostic. They're telling you have a misconception if you're picking A, and you have a sort of a really big one if you're picking B, and that sort of thing. So that's the direction they tend to want to stay in. I'm just saying, because of the burden. They have so many students that they're grading. But again, I think the sort of the middle path is probably instruction and opportunity to, mixing up opportunities to write, to think, to talk, and ensuring that that's happening more in your classroom. As far as the testing goes, I would just say pretty much what I said before, that until they can make it easy and automated, I don't see a lot of faculty taking this up. I mean, the feedback we got was very clear. And it's hard when you're looking at what students are writing. The skill of students writing in a lot of these cases wasn't that good. And so it creates this additional burden of, am I interpreting this appropriately, and so on.
And are they going to get better by taking multiple choice tests, or are they going to get better by writing more?
No, I hear you. I agree. I think good point. Good point. Okay.
So I guess I'm following on that, and maybe you kind of answered it, but it seems like the elephant in the room is the instruction. You're focused on the assessment, but if the instruction isn't focused on critical thinking, essentially it sounds like the professors want to test what they teach. And where your research, you begin with the premise that we need a society of problem solvers. So how much does this research then kind of help us with that narrative, that actually we need pedagogy that's about problem solving, and that what needs to change is what's happening in the classrooms, not just the way we assess it?
Yeah, no, excellent question. And I mean, one of the reasons when we set out to do this test, and we were talking with community college, like a vice president of instruction, and the reason he was excited about this work is he said, I cannot get faculty to do this more complex problem-solving type of thing. And the only thing that's going to kind of wake them up is if we have a test that shows them how miserably they're doing in this regard. So I'm just telling you, I mean, that's what, it just seems like it's a hard sell. Yes, I'm sorry. Do we want to get the microphone?
It doesn't matter to me. So I just wanted to, again, riff on this whole commentary that's going on. I'm a community college instructor in the Bay Area, not one that parlayed with you for this particular aspect, but I'd be willing because I got a ton of students, a ton of students. So just to give everyone in the room kind of a flavor of what that looks like, I started off this semester with 415 students. And my testing, I have changed my own pedagogy in the 9 years of teaching probably 6 different times, trying to find and flavor out what way can I get them to not necessarily critically think, because I actually have a different take on critical thinking than you would think from a science geek like myself. I teach astronomy. But nonetheless, of getting them to ferret through what it is that they do think and how to process the information. So in my design changes, currently this semester, I again changed my pedagogy, and I'm having them write a lot. So 415 writing a lot.
Okay.
They're writing 2-page papers. And my backpack is 50 pounds of stuff. So I fully understand. And so my design in the past had been a blend of short answer, multiple choice, and math calculations for those courses that had the math in them. Just because 400 students.
Yes.
400 students of, answers is just a lot to parse through. And being community college level, we don't have TAs.
Right?
Those are non-existent.
It's all on
Sure,
you.
four-year professors, when they're doing research, they get TAs because, well, they're not teaching them anyhow. It's the TAs that are teaching them. But at community college, yeah, you get bupkis and you like it and keep your job if you're happy kind of thing. And so... And just to give you a flavor of why we go the multiple choice route, it sucks, I hate it, but the workload demands it because there's no way. I mean, I am so inundated with stuff that coming here tonight was, oh God, how am I going to get all this grading done in these papers?
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah.
it was worthwhile for you.
And you're right about the level of their capacity for writing. Like, I hadn't done this whole full-length writing stuff in a while. Oh, my God.
Yes.
How did they get into college is my question.
That's right.
But that's a
Yeah.
whole nother conversation for another topic.
That's right. Thank you very much.